OperationFatherhood here. So, back with another thought, and this time for the grown man, okay? For my fellow fathers out there, divorced dads, or if you never were married at all. Just want to give you something to think about. Okay, so I saw a question earlier that said, should men be responsible for children that are not theirs? Ooh, I might get in trouble for this one. So, I'm going to go out on the limb and I'm not a devil's advocate though, because I'm a bit too religious. So I'm just going to say I'm going to probably go against the standard thinking on this one. And I'm going to say yes. Hold on. Let me explain. Okay, so hold on. I will say I believe men, can be responsible for children that are not their own. But what do we mean by responsible though? Okay. So the thing about being responsible, and the reason I'm kind of going against probably what would be the standard grain, especially in the manosphere, is that when you think about being responsible, let's say so I am a teacher. That's my full-time job right now. I am responsible for children, guess what, that are not my own. When they step in that classroom, I am actually responsible for them. Now, they many times can be rude and disrespectful as all get out, okay? And they don't want to do the work. They don't, too many of them, I'm not saying, well, no, probably most of them. Most of them don't want to do the work. Most of them don't want to read. Most of them don't want to write. Too many times, disrespectful on any given day, any given time. I can tell them I love them as much as I want to. They are still rude, okay? It's just part of the teenage years. They were my child. I'd be smacking lips and whooping behinds left and right, but they're not mine, right? I have to be responsible for them. So the thing is that it's something like within me. I think because it's different things. One, I am religious, so I believe that human beings are made in the image of God, so I should be loving to every individual out there, even though it's not always easy for me. Okay, like I remember Martin Luther King once saying, it's not always easy liking folks, but love is greater than like. Okay, so I have to love my students anyway, right? But the thing is that I know also that, through studies that have been shown, articles that have been put out about it, different, well-known intellectuals have talked about it, scientists, psychologists, so on and so forth, that when a child does not have that strong, intelligent, loving, dedicated father figure, male influence, even if they can't stand the guy, right? It does something to them psychologically. And I've seen it time and time again with students. I've seen it with family members of mine. I've seen it with friends. That when the father was not truly dedicated, when the man was not truly dedicated, it had a real impact on them. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't go off and become successful necessarily, but they probably had a lot more mental and emotional, psychological, sometimes physical, spiritual issues, that if that father was there, if that man was there, it would have had a major impact on them, and it would have probably led them to have less issues in their life. Now, so I would say yes from the teacher standpoint, right? Like I said before, because I have students that come into my room. Okay, I want them to be successful for multiple reasons, and they're not even blood related to me. They're not my children. I have two. Okay, I wasn't promiscuous like that. I didn't have a bunch of kids when I was married. Didn't have a bunch of kids before I was married. Not trying to have a bunch of kids after I get married. Okay, unless I was somehow to get married again. Okay, hopefully not going to happen anytime soon. So the thing is that I wanted to see those students be successful. Why? Well, I want to see them be successful because I know that there's always a possibility that I could run into them again. If they are not successful, if they do not go out and be wonderful, hardworking citizens and doing good things in life, then the opposite of that is being negative, and the opposite of that is not good. Then they can go out and possibly be. I'm not saying this is always the case, okay? There's a lot of gray area in there, but they can go out and be thugs, get involved with the wrong crowd, become violent. So let's just say I'm out in the middle of the street somewhere and I'm getting gas. Well, instead of them being hardworking citizens, they may be trying to rob me. So the thing is that I am responsible to them and for them to some degree because one is my job, and two, I believe it's a part of my calling as a religious person, Christian religious person, for them to shed some type of light and wisdom to them that maybe it'll get in their head somewhere along the way, and they'll go be successful. Okay, so that's just coming from as a teacher. Okay, and I think that's where we kind of lost in these last few generations, lost the role of men. And men being not only dedicated to their own children, but being dedicated to those other kids. Like if you got with a woman and she had a bunch of kids, okay, with another man or other men, right? And you had a family with her. I'm not talking about y'all just were, sleeping together. I'm talking about you actually had a family with this woman. And then let's say it just doesn't work out. Because, nowadays everybody's, breaking up for the stupidest of reasons. Not always cheating, not always abuse. Let's say you break up with her, okay? Well, those kids, even if they weren't yours, you were in their life for a certain amount of time, okay? Especially if it was a year or years. So, and especially if you took them out and got them food and loved on them and played with them, okay? And then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't want to be with her anymore, so it's not my responsibility because those are not my kids. Well, here's the thing. That's not fair to them. And to some degree, even when you were with that female, okay, again, talking to my fellow dads out there, even when you were not with that female and, when you were with that female, right, you took her out, and you took out the kids, you all were a family. So then I would encourage more guys to think of it from that standpoint. Don't just then say, well, hey, they weren't mine then, they're not mine now, so all I'm going to worry about is the child or children that I had with her. Well, again, you were there in some way, shape, or form for that child or children that were not yours. Now, if you can honestly say that you did not have anything to do with that child or children when you all together, okay, that might be something different. However, most guys, dare I say, that when they were with that female, she had a child or multiple kids, you were very involved with that child's life. Now, there might have been some guys who just didn't care. Okay, cool. But if you were, don't then dismiss the kid because of whatever relationship they have with you and their mother. Again, that's not fair to the child. And I just wish more men, in the world, and this time, I think a lot of men actually do. I'm not going to say all brothers don't. But I feel like a lot more of us need to encourage each other on that. Like, look, you are already there. Think about them. Think about their well-being, their mental health, their emotional health, physical health, spiritual health. And that's the thing about it. This last thing I'm going to say, this video got longer than I was meaning for it to. It's getting over 8 minutes. But the thing is that, think about it. When we have children, I think sometimes we don't think about the long-term effects of things. We don't think about, hey, one of these days, this child is going to go out in the world and interact with other people. And I want my children to go out into the world. Hopefully they'll remember me. Hopefully they'll be my legacy to the world, right? Or even a small community or whatever level. And I want them to be a benefit. I don't want them to be damaging to others. I don't want them to be abusive to others, okay? I want them to go off, and I want them to be mentally and emotionally and spiritually and physically healthy, okay? They didn't ask to be put here, okay? So therefore, since they came through me, a part of my duty and a part of my role and my calling is to make sure they go off and have the best life possible. And that means being there even when I don't want to be there. So if I have kids that I was around that I didn't help bring in the world, but okay, I played a role in their life at some point where I was actively involved with their life when I was with their mother, then I shouldn't just give up on them after I've given up on their mother or their mother's given up on me. So again, probably, definitely a controversial topic. Might get maybe some pushback on that. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Peace.